Nigeria barely generates about 3,000 megawatts of electricity for a population of about 180 million people. However, the sector has challenges with infrastructure, policy somersault, and manpower. As the nation looks at an alternative source of power generation, manpower becomes key. Does Nigeria have the manpower to manage power generation from solar, wind, coal, and the likes? My guest this week talks about manpower in the nation's power sector. Hello there. Thank you for joining me on the program this week. I'm Gloria Umezuki. The need to improve the capacity of workers in the nation's electricity sector led to the birth of the National Power Training Institute in 2009. The institute has the mandate to provide a comprehensive, hands-on engineering and technical training for the power sector. My guest is the Acting Director General of the National Power Training Institute. But first, what are the stories that made headlines within the week in the nation's capital? President Muhammadu Buhari is calling for the formulation of policies that will enable the effective utilization of Africa's maritime resources to boost the continent's economy. He spoke during the opening of a two-day conference of International Association for Ports and Harbors, Africa Region.
After the issues of adequate security and transparency, the one other important factor deciding the competitiveness of ports is the efficiency with which cargoes are evacuated to and from the ports. This, without doubt, is an area in which port operations in Africa need a lot of attention.
A magistrate court in Abuja has struck out the suit against journalist Jones Abiri, describing his detention as a criminal intimidation. This was following an application brought by Mr. Abiri's lawyer, Mr. Samuel Ogala, seeking to transfer Mr. Abiri's trial to Bayelsa since he was arrested there. The magistrate, Mr. Chukwuemeka Nweke, agreed with the defense and thereafter struck out the suit. The Chief Judge of the Federal High Court, Mr. Abdul Kafarati, has stopped judges from issuing ex parte orders in political cases as a way of ending controversies in election matters. Justice Kafarati made this known at a special court session to mark the commencement of the Federal High Court's legal year for 2018 and 2019.
Attempt to forestall any hiccups and the blame on the court by political gladiators, I have during this vacation issued a circular that interim orders ex parte shall not be granted in any political cases before brought before the court. I believe that controversies, especially in the political cases, can be reduced when the court takes a decision after hearing all the parties in the case.
The National Assembly is dismissing insinuations that it removed the clause in the Electoral Act Amendment Bill specifying the use of card readers in elections. Briefing journalists at the National Assembly, the chairman of the Joint Committee on INEC and Electoral Matters, Senator Suleiman Nazif, explained that the committee has merged the Second and Third Amendment bills into a Fourth Electoral Act Amendment Bill, which includes the use of card readers, and the new bill has addressed the concerns raised by President Muhammadu Buhari.
What we wanted to achieve in the third bill was to strengthen the second one. That is all. We wanted to strengthen the second one so that it will address all dates issues so that we can make INEC's work easier. So we did that, and this one, because it was an addition, which had 15 clauses with the citation, did not carry the card reader because it was just an addition. Now, addition to the second one. Now, what the executive wanted was a merger between the second one and the third one. So both the executive and the legislative arm are on the same page in strengthening INEC. We're on the same page. We want to strengthen INEC. We want to make sure the 2019 elections are free and fair. Credible at the same time.
The federal government is planning an elaborate celebration for Nigeria's 58th Independence Day celebration. We're speaking with journalists. The chairman of the 2018 Independence Day Central Organizing Committee, Mr. Gabriel Aduda, stated that the activities marking the celebration this year will begin on September 25.
On Friday, the 28th of September, we will have a national lecture on Jumat prayer at the National Mosque. On Sunday, the 30th of September at 3 p.m., we will have the interdenominational Christian church service to mark the celebration of this year's independence. On the morning of the Independence Day, Monday, the 1st of October 2018, we will begin with the traditional media broadcast at 7 a.m. by His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari, followed by Independence Parade at the Eagle Square at 9 a.m. by military and paramilitary agencies, the Labor Union, and the National Youth Service Corps. There will be air displays by Air Force fighter jets over the skies of Abuja. We will have paratroopers display, and military equipment fanfare will also take place that same morning. The day will come to a close, that is the 1st of October, with a state dinner and gala night at the State House Banquet Hall in the Presidential Villa at 6 p.m.
Pensioners of the defunct Nigeria Airways have protested at the Federal Ministry of Finance over the non-payment of their emoluments 15 years after the airline stopped operations. However, the Minister of Finance addressed them with assurance that their demands are receiving due attention.
Let me be briefed, and then we'll fix a meeting. And now, of course, we have to take stock of what is possible in this year and then subsequently. And then we'll arrange for a meeting with your leadership. Not a meeting like this on the road, it's not a good one, but a meeting that will sit down on the table and discuss. We will show you also the challenges that we have, and we hope you will give us your understanding.
In the meantime, the federal government have suspended the proposed national carrier, Nigeria Air, in the interim. The announcement was made by the Minister of State for Aviation, Senator Hadi Sirika.
The federal government of Nigeria has taken the decision to suspend the national carrier project, for some strategic reasons. And we would advise you in due course.
The Federal Executive Council has confirmed Hajia Zainab Ahmed as the substantive Minister of Finance following last weekend's resignation of the last occupant, Mrs. Cmtte, on account of the controversy that trailed her National Youth Service Corps certificate. Making the clarification after the council meeting, the Special Advisor on Media and Publicity to the President, Mr. Femi Adesina, said Hajia Ahmed has relinquished her former position as Minister of State for Budget and National Planning.
For now, she will no longer function as Minister of State, Budget and Planning. She will be Minister of Finance. In fact, that was how she was addressed at Council. But don't forget that it's also a legal thing. If a minister is going to be appointed, there are some procedures. That's why it's a deployment.
But members of the Bring Back Our Girls group staged a march to the presidential villa to demand the release of Leah Sharibu, abducted workers and others in Boko Haram captivity. The group marched from the Unity Fountain to the access road that leads to the villa, but were denied access by a team of anti-riot police officers. The group also condemned the killing of one of the 3 abducted aid workers in Borno State by Boko Haram.
We shall not give any reprieve to President Muhammadu Buhari until he performs his constitutional duty and fulfills his obligation and pledge to the people of Nigeria. That pledge that he took upon assumption of office is to always put the interest of the people above his own. Again, we ask Mr. President, what is your priority?
As the 2019 elections draw closer, journalists have been enjoined to renew their commitments to the journalistic pillars of truth, fairness and balance, especially with the spread of half-truths spread by political gladiators whose stock in trade is to manipulate the media. This was part of the opening speech of the chairman of the Broadcasting Organizations of Nigeria and chairman chief executive officer of Channels Media Group, Mr. John Momo, at the 70th General Assembly of the organization.
One word, responsibility, should be the beacon for media managers, editors, reporters, presenters, and the whole media value chain. Responsibility connotes objectivity. It connotes fairness, decorum, finesse, patriotism, sacrifice, balance, truth, and trust. I will recommend one or all of the following codes to journalists: the Nigerian Media Code on Election Coverage, the NBC Code on Election Reporting, and the Global Journalistic Code.
A report on
the Presidential Committee that was set up to study the causes of the recent earth tremor in Abuja has identified indiscriminate sinking of boreholes as the cause of the tremor. The committee, at the submission of its report to the Minister of Science and Technology, recommended that the government enforces strict regulation of hydrogeological activities in Abuja.
There's a need to regulate exploitation of groundwater resources of Abuja via indiscriminate sinking of boreholes, because this has been the primary reason for the stress build-up leading to Abuja tremors of 5th to 7th September 2018.